away.
They have already taken it away. You are correct. I was looking at other options for middle lane. We might see the likes of Galio's already there. It's okay. It's going to be a long day, Trevor.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up. What do you think of the Cogmore ban? No AD carry locked in for upset yet. Obviously, Tristana's off along with Kalista, and it's the Gnar in reply. So Janna's still available here for Giants and allow the counter pick for Ruin. Then we need to see an ADC for Schalke.
We've seen the Cogmore out of upset before. I don't necessarily think this is the greatest composition to have put it in if Schalke were looking for it, but they also want to take away one of those scaling threats, remember, because these games are going long. If you can take away the late game carries, Upset might have to play the Caitlyn that comes through at this point. So I like that Giants are looking towards other options to remove from Upset's champion pool. He may just go Varus if he wants a lane-winning AD carry. It's been very good for him.
Oh, and there we go, locked in. So the last time that we saw Upset playing on Varus, last week, phenomenal. He's 3-0 on the champion, 14, 1, and 20.
Yeah, 34 KDA, pretty good.
Ridiculous performance on that champion. And we're gonna get a split pushing top laner once again. The Jax, not necessarily the only reason Schalke struggled in the previous game. What do you think of it this time around?
I think blind picking Jax can be very risky. If we see a Rumble come out here, at least that magic damage can have a decent amount of threat against him. Jax doesn't necessarily win a lot of matchups, so he's a scaling pick. Gragas is another AP threat that you can run up in that top lane. It could even be the Maokai, although both of them kind of give over a lot of the laning phase prowess. Jax will be fine with that and take a scaling matchup, but you have phenomenal frontline for Giants here. 4 frontline tanks, 1 carry.
Where is the... Oh, they're so reliant on Mini Trupax. Now, if you were to rely on anybody, Mini Trupax is one of the guys you should feel comfortable leaning back onto. But 4 tanks for Giants, they are, for lack of a better phrase, hella committed to late game team fights here, Stress.
I don't even... So this late game threat out of Xayah needs to get a bunch of kills and a bunch of gold early on, otherwise Xayah won't live up to it. You mentioned the Sivir being that kind of big threat. Xayah can have that impact, but look, Schalke, they've got decent curve to their game. They've got early and mid game and late game, whereas you can't quite say the same for Giants. They've got decent ability to team fight, but if they fall behind, very difficult with only 1 damage threat.
So what is the key to victory here then for Giants? As we mentioned, 1 damage threat. We know the scaling is more balanced for Schalke. They've also got a split push threat.
For Giants, it's basically like land crowd control on 1 person, try and catch them before a fight ever happens, so that only having 1 damage threat doesn't really matter. For Schalke, if they can, again, get Memento into the fights, be able to punish Mini Trupax for being the only damage dealer, then Mini Jail just push the side lane all day long. This Jax, we saw it out of him last week. That's a very, very tough champion to pull off, but he's been given basically an almost free laning phase.
What we've seen from both games this series already, the team that has tried the split pushing shenanigans is the team that has fallen over. Both times that slightly more team fight style team composition worked, but Giants have thrown a small curveball our way by giving some mixed AP damage from the Maokai, Gragas, Galio. I think if you add all of them together, it could be an AP threat. Maybe that's also a little overly harsh because the numbers aren't quite that terrible.
Yeah, Galio actually does do a decent amount of damage in fights. It's not a carry threat, but certainly supplements a lot of the damage that comes through. I think the thing for me is if Giants get ahead and get resistance and armor and everything early on, then Schalke are going to have a real tough time with a scaling Jax, with a scaling Corki to actually output the damage. If Giants fall behind and they don't have those resistances, these 3 damage threats from Schalke will just eat through the front line of Schalke.
Right, now I want to see the Gilius of weeks gone by show up. I want to see Gilius ganking the bottom lane with Jizuki and Ruin coming to join the party, make those Alistair tower dives backed up by Galio, backed up by Gragas a reality. Because you have to get many Trupax ahead. He had a great game on Tristana previously, but now he needs to do it again because his whole team is built around him, much like our narrative in game 1, right?
Yeah.
The kind of vibe of a Giants composition.
Yeah, although it's sounding a little bit like Ebenezer Scrooge right here. You don't want to see the Gilius of Christmas Future come through. That always tells a bad tale. We'll see exactly which Gilius actually shows up. Second game was a lot better out of him. He had that engage. Everything looked good from Gilius. And again, Gragas, another one of these well-rounded champions. A lot less focused on just one cocoon.
Yeah, going to have more versatility. Playing forward, playing backward. Engage or disengage. A little bit of trading in this bottom lane already. Upset and many True Packs. They've had each of them one good game apiece. And we'll see whether or not Upset's Varus, who's only died once in the 3 games that he's played, will show up again. 14, 1, and 20. Like, ridiculous performance on what is a little bit of an off-meta pick. Maybe off-meta is maybe a bit strong, but like non-traditional 7-16 pick.
Right, it's a pick that a couple of AD carries, you look at Sven from G2, still mixes into the champion pool every now and again because it does win lane quite well, especially when you pair it with something like a Rakan. You have push threat, you have a lot of damage, even mixed components to it as well the later the game goes. And you can use him as pick because you have the ultimate, you can disengage with it as well. So Varus is still a good champion, and it's actually a little away from the playstyle Schalke played in the playoffs, but more akin to their regular split, where they were a little bit more about winning the lane using this Varus. That's where those 3 games came from. Whereas many True Packs and Jack Troll, they're going to have to concede quite a lot in this laning phase.
Yeah, small changes here from the jungle pathing. Memento's going for the invade again, but Gilius is not there to be caught. Gilius instead went to look for the Raptor camp on the Schalke side of the jungle, and it was not there. Instead returning to his own jungle, Ruin farming under his tower on Maokai. Early levels, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot against the Jax. Well, actually, through most of the game, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot against the Jax. Just wait there as best you can.
Yep.
Use those saplings and the Bramble Smash.
And that's the thing, is when, even before all the Maokai reworks and everything like that, Maokai in the top lane was basically a free lane for whoever played against him, because although he does have a little bit of threat, a little bit of damage that comes through, generally you just farm on both sides of the matchup. And without jungle presence, Gilius, Memento still not even looking towards top lane. Not a lot's going to happen for a while up there.
Yeah, you talked about farm lanes. What about mid lane? By the way, it's double teleports this time around. Memento gonna threaten some sort of moves here onto Jizuki's Galio, but he's gonna get bullied away.
The reason it's double TP without an Elise now, a lot less reason to cleanse. You'd only really be looking at Ruin for that W, the route that comes through. So Kadril just says, no, I can match your TPs, everything's going to be great. And that would indicate that Kadril should have a better early game compared to the first time we saw these two. Kadril's early game was good enough as it was.
Yeah, exactly. Jizuki with the first TP back into lane. He's going to push Kadril out. Gets a full combo on that Justice Punch. And we quickly get a glimpse down bottom. Engage onto Jack Troll. He's going to get a good pulverize backwards and headbutt. Stun comes down as well. With the dash from the Battle Dance. Noskaren's out to safety. But just look at the previous game matchup. Oh, let's see whether or not any shenanigans happens here. Because upset many True Packs. This is the stats from game 2 where many True Packs Tristana 100% kill participation.
Yeah, we've had quite low kill games, but everything in the last game did revolve around mini True Packs. On that Tristana, a lot of resets came through and he was able to just hop through the fights. A lot of double kills. Happened throughout that game, and really that was enough for Giants to be able to put their stock in mini True Packs. He was able to just sit very safely and push through, but that's a high damage percent out of both AD carries. You could see how the impact of having these scaling mid laners actually means the AD carries have so much more on their shoulders in this series.
Look at the Duran taunt there onto Kadril. Yeah, those percentage now, damage percentage also tells you how heavily team-focused the game was. Gilius was making his way down to the bottom lane before we started talking about that matchup. They popped the blast cone, stuck a couple of wards inside Schalke's jungle. But Gilius has not had the same slow start. All right, body slam flash. No, not maybe not with flash still available.
No, not without level 6 as well is the other half of that. If Gilius had his cask, that might be worth a flash for flash. The thing is, Kadril's actually losing out this matchup a little harder than he would anticipate. Now, he's having to recall, which is where the CS advantage will open up again. And that is a little bit contrary to game 1 of this series, where Kadril actually was bullying Jizuki quite effectively.
I wonder if Jizuki's changed his runes or masteries or anything along those lines. Kadril's going to stick around. 6-0 on Corki during Challenger and promos, but now he's missing the wave, missing the experience, and he's missing time because he opted to stick around.
I have a feeling a lot of it is the fact that Gilius hasn't been pushed back on, like on the Elise in game 1, where Gilius didn't have the time to go into mid lane, wasn't able to really help out, but now Gilius a second time invading against Memento. We'll see if this one is more successful.
Definitely with the help of Jack Troll. So this is good. This is growth. Early game mistakes from earlier in the series not being repeated. Support here for Gilius on the invade. Admittedly, it's a different champion, but it's the play style that matters, right? Gilius didn't get bullied out of his jungle by Jarvan. Managed to invade to steal away the red buff, and Giants still with a minor gold lead here as we approach 8 minutes.
For now, I don't know how well the Giants can play football. Schalke, don't know how good they are at football either. That would be an interesting one, to see whether the Schalke lineup could actually play, whether they've been training like that. Because fitness is part of their regime, right?
It
a
is
lot of
indeed.
teams mix that in.
I think I saw Schalke and Fnatic play a football game after Challenger Spring. That was several months ago.
Okay.
But there was a bunch of players that got together, and I don't remember 100%. I need to do a reminder or a refresher.
Smitty J is playing for the wrong game here, look. He's trying to be a mighty duck, not being Schalke.
Not going to help you out here. But look, Ruin's wearing the Maokai onesie, so that's definitely not going to help you in either sport. Nature's Grass comes down. First blood should be picked up, not with the flash though. Ruin is followed by Memento. Body slam flash comes from Gilius.
Ooh.
First blood picked up by Giants. Cadril gets one back on the end as Giants get a second kill. One for Gilius, as well as one for Jizuki. A flash over the wall. Jack Troll looks, gets the pulverize. The cask knocks Cadril backwards. He's already flashed. The flash Duran towards from Jizuki. Won't be enough. One more auto's needed. Jizuki's rushing forward, punches him in the face, and Giants get 3.
That backfires for Schalke as Giants able to group effectively using the Galio ultimate. They used one early. They used it early in the game. They got to the top side. Galio actually picked up first blood to start this. 2-0-1 on a Galio is going to accelerate that build through. We talked about how if Giants are ahead, they will be able to itemize efficiently early on. And this all started from the fact that Smitty J was trying to invade because they were wanting to bring Memento up to the top side, wanting to capitalize on this Maokai, who doesn't have a whole lot of damage, they think, early on. But look, when nobody has damage, damage is quite even. Ruin is able to get away, disrupt Memento for long enough. Cadril, yes, gets the kill from that, but look at how quickly Jack Troll was on his way up through the river, was able to land that cowbell, land a lot of crowd control. And this is what this composition is based around. You find individuals and lock them down with crowd control. Oh, Cadril stuck around. That auto, I don't know whether it definitely was the costing of his life there, but he stuck around trying to just get a little bit more, trying to get the life steal that comes back from that Warlords, but it wasn't quite enough.
Did not work out in Jack Troll's first purchase of those Moby boots. They just paid for themselves, basically. On that great roam, setting Jizuki up. He's come back to lane with a Haunting Guise, I'd like to point out. So while we mentioned the slight lack of AP damage, Haunting Guise is going to help them out. And Gilius starts off the Mountain Drake. It's on top of a ward. And actual Schalke vision in the river, definitely the central lane down to river, is pretty strong. So they've got a lot of information to work with here.
Oh, there's TP advantage for Giants here at this point, though, because look, Smitty J doesn't have his, so Giants could look to capitalize. That would leave Ruin's tower in trouble if Schalke were able to commit to this. Giants end up getting the Mountain Drake for themselves. So again, going from strength to strength in this game. Ruin is on the way towards a righteous glory. So this is going to all be about team fights for Giants.
Yep, absolutely. And lots of parties around many troop packs. If the front line can survive, nice. That was very cheeky indeed. And just to dash forward, wins out the trade a little bit. He's got Ninja Tabby, as well as that Glacial Heart. A little bit of armor, a little bit of HP. But it's just the farm lane, isn't it? We need to see the impact that either Smitty J can unlock on the side lane, or that Ruin can bring to a team fight.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing. With that Glacial Shroud now building into Righteous Glory, Smitty J now has to try and beat the itemization. Now they go on Ruin.
Oh, I love the engaged synergy. Teleport coming down for Jizuki.
Oh, he's bought enough time.
Buying some time. Sap Magic keeps him alive. Just long enough for Jizuki to arrive. Here comes Cadril, though. Match TP with TP.
The ult?
Ruin decides to re-engage Sap Magic.
No way.
Buys a few seconds longer. Ruin survives! dives, walks out with his life. Quick flash down to the bottom lane as Gilius is looking for a target. Upset and Norskeren dash and dive for their lives. And at the end of the day, Memento's the only one that goes down.
Ruin managed to get away on such little health thanks to the damage reduction that came through from Jizuki. All across the board there, Giants basically winning out on the trades. Jizuki has so much damage with this Haunting, guys, that they do have a secondary threat this early on in the game. 3-0-1 on this Galio is going to be nearly unstoppable.
Phenomenal start to game 3 here for Giants. They've accumulated a 2,000 gold lead that will spike to 3,000 with the tower First Blood. They got Mountain as well. They got the actual First Blood. It's a great start with a different style of team comp from what they've run earlier this series.
And again, it comes from Schalke trying to make a play on the top side of the map. They're trying to snowball Smitty J. Remember, we said if Smitty J gets ahead, this Jax provides a late game damage and side lane push. But look, they jump on Ruin. It's enough time to bring... Look at how far Jizuki actually starts. So he couldn't have got in range by walking. They know they still have the Galio ult available. Ruin is able to just survive long enough. Oh, damage reduction. He dodges out the rocket using the untargetable frames from Twisted Advance. Ruin walks away with no health, no mana, but his life intact. And another kill goes to Jizuki.
Oh, great start here for Giants just before 15 minutes. After the 2 previous games that were a little slower tempoed, Giants are now using that hero's entrance extremely well. Leandri's Torment completed for the Thunderlord's Galio. And that's a good sign for Giants if they've got this additional damage there, especially going into the mid-game, where they have all of the tools to start fights.
At this point, the Italian god is just coming down like Zeus at this point. Just slamming down into the fights. Thunderlords will end up proccing. And honestly, it's a lot of damage will come from Jizuki. I'll be very interested to see a little bit later the damage done to champions, because I think it's actually going to be more than we typically would see out of a Galio.
Well, I think his build will help that out ever so slightly.
But I think significantly more. And I think one of the things that buys into this is the fact that Kadril has been taking these scaling matchups. And we mentioned that normally is Kadril's wheelhouse. That's where he likes to play. This game's going to be very tough for Corki to actually output damage when it comes to not being shut down by this Galio.
And on the same token, Jizuki cannot afford to jump into a team fight that his team was not 100% going to win. Without having those tanky stats, those MR and armor items, he's going to get melted quicker than we usually see him. All right, Kadril now trying to defend.
You know what else is interesting?
Tell me.
That Dark Seal that normally just sits there because it helps with the potions, 7 stacks on it currently. Maybe see a Magi's come through from Jizuki if he ends up wanting to go that route for more damage. Look at how they're collapsing on mid lane for Giants here. Already pushing in from multiple angles, getting into the mid lane, and they can take down that first mid lane tower. That's the second tower of the game for Giants. This snowball is very effective.
There's 5 people in the mid lane. Giants are going to use the Rift Herald for a second tower. Kadril's rockets are being body blocked. And that Rift Herald was fantastically used by Giants. They pushed that lead 4,000 gold.
And what happened there was Giants went topside with mini Trupax, tried to push out, dragged Upset up to the top lane, and then just said, okay, well, we'll Rift Herald in the mid lane, get ourselves 2 towers, and this is looking to be a very swift game from Giants. Ahead with this type of front line up against scaling damage threats. Kadril does not even have a phage completed towards his Trinity Force. Upset is basically the only person that can try and hold Schalke through this tricky part of the game, and he doesn't have a whole lot of damage himself.
Now, if there is one small saving grace for Schalke, is that the money is on the front line of Giants. And the reason I say that, if they can somehow catch Mini Trupax or lower his effectiveness in team fights as we start to scale to the mid-game, maybe there's a way in.
I actually think that's still a bad thing, that it's on the front line. I actually think this is one of the opportunities where, like, if the tanks have a lot of gold, you're not getting through them at all. Like, Alistair's already effective enough with his damage reduction. Galio is going to be effective enough with damage reduction, plus now has damage on top of it. Like, I think there's very tough way of Schalke getting out of this game. They'll try with a top lane play. Didn't quite get all 3 over the wall, but looking for the tower. Meanwhile, bottom lane again, Giants are looking to set up a play for themselves.
Okay, this will be the first tower for Schalke secured. It's 10 seconds to Infernal Drake, by the way, which Giants desperately do not want to give up. Remember, this is a team composition that is lacking some damage sources. So if you get an AP Galio with a Mountain Drake and an Infernal Drake and a Leandries, that benefits Giants so greatly going into the next few team fights and the next objective battles.
Every single trade is going in Giants' favor. Now, that's an inner tower for an outer tower in favor of Giants. As you said, Infernal is up, standing around in a bush, waiting for Smitty J to come up and place a ward, because Smitty J doesn't want to just walk into the jungle, but he's pushed too far up in lane himself. This is tricky.
Available to him. There's pings from Schalke onto the mid-outer turret. Ruin is sitting in the top lane, and wow, he just got deleted. Yeah.
Jizuki could TP here to the mid lane if they wanted to defend, and look, they can collapse from the side. In fact, Jizuki may be close enough to ult here as Ruin goes in.
All right, manages to dodge. He corrupted, twisted advance rather, throws down Nature's Grasp. Now look at the damage. Norscaren's already down. Memento gets rooted up for a few seconds. Summoner heal used by Upset. Ruin and Jizuki, again, they are just bursting down Schalke at every opportunity.
At this point, they're trying to make us look foolish for saying they only have one damage threat. That is certainly not true for this game anymore. Now Giants have the opportunity to go for the Infernal Drake. They're going to be able to take that down, increase their damage. Like, if that happens again, Giants will look for a Baron from that and will look to end the game very quickly, because Schalke cannot create enough presence out on the side lane for Kadril or Smitty J to push their lane out.
I am just still flabbergasted by the amount of damage coming out. I can't play by play quick enough to talk about the people who are just getting popped. All right, 10 stacks on that Dark Seal for Jizuki. I haven't seen if he's recalled, so might be sitting on quite a lot of cash as the Essence Reaver.
2.1k.
And there we go. As sitting in his pocket, 1,200 up for Ruin still to spend. And the wave clear is so strong. 402 on Galio. And there you go. Total damage dealt to champions this game. Who's carrying for Giants, Stress?
Well, Jizuki and Ruin are certainly putting a name for themselves, that tanks aren't just about soaking damage.
Yep.
You can also output it. We've seen like Maokai's do okay damage, and because you're trading a lot, but normally it's not quite this amount, where you're actually killing people quite quickly.
And to go back to something we were talking about earlier, how both teams could opt to play around the top laners. While Ruin's not dealing the damage, his Maokai has been instrumental in many of these plays. The fight in the river earlier, ganks in the top lane. And let's see what Ruin decides to do. He's currently trading with Smitty J. Teleport's available for both. And actually he's doing pretty well with that passive.
Yeah, has the Bramble Vest as well now, and the Burmese Cinder, so has a lot of this passive damage that trades just back onto Smitty J. There is a few options for Schalke to actually get back into this game. Of course, it's going to be based around getting some kind of an engage where Giants aren't ready to react to it, but look at how fast Giants are able to always respond to any engages. If Memento blindly tries to catch out many true packs, Galio's going to arrive, Ruin will TP in. Like, there's so much denial of fighting just from the front line showing up that Schalke have to find these very small windows from Giants where they make a mistake and just absorb farm until this Jax and this Corki are ready to come online.
Stress. I'm seeing multiple pings onto Baron. Giants started or thinking about it, then the call is to back away. Crucially, there's a control ward for Schalke inside the red buff area
look
of
at
Giants.
Righteous Glory, remember, has been completed. He's going in.
All right, Upset is the target. Twisted Advance comes down. Hero's Entrance lands as well. Upset is already blown up. Schalke didn't even get Smitty J to finish. He cancelled
an inhib here
his
at 20
teleport.
minutes.
21 minutes on the clock. Giants engage. Go, go, go. Comp is now knocking on the inhibitor turret. Recall not used yet by Smitty J. Actually, he ran all the way back. Flash from Gilius. That's going to fall ever so slightly short. Jackshot moves forward. The quickness buys a few seconds of time. But now all of a sudden, Smitty J forced to run for his life. Flash as well. Giants look to break open the inhibitor, trading a lot of damage with Kadril. They're unable to secure the objective. They need some minions for backup.
They did get the inhibitor tower, though, for now. That inhibitor is a little bit more elusive without the minions. So Giants back away. They'll reset, spend some of their gold. 1,600 on multiple members of Giants right now. This is an opportunity if Schalke were to try and get towards Baron to assume control. This is one of the worst feelings you have to think for Upset, where he's like, okay, I've got a Maokai coming at me one side, a Galio is ulting me, so I've been knocked towards the edge of the circle, and In comes Agragas, body slams me, I'm dead. There's no escape path available. This is the drawback of Avaris compared to like a Tristana, where you don't have that easy jump, and now Upset, no flash, means if another flank like that comes from Giants, Upset is really not going to get out of there.
I don't even think they need to flank.
No,
I think Ruin could run him down.
Yeah.
I think just straight at him and say, I dare you to do anything. And you know, in Picks and Bans, we had all these questions about split pushes and engages. The team with more engage has been the team that seems to win so far. Giants have got engaged everywhere. All 5 members of Schalke peel away from the Baron. It slowly resets.
I didn't see whether they had vision on Gilius recalling out there, but that was one of the only plays that Schalke would look to get here, get the teleports out of Giants if they can. I don't think they were seriously committing to the Baron, and that's why they just dropped back away. Kadril did use his TP to start that play, though, so maybe a little bit of miscommunication on that investment.
It was a 1-for-1 trade. Yep. Ruin not going to be able to play the side lane, and looking at the itemization, Jizuki's picked himself up a Medjay Soulstealer. 10 stacks already for a guy who actually has not played any Galio this split until this tournament, sorry, today. That's a bold move, and it's paying off.
It is. Maybe that's why. He's like, I don't like playing this Galio in scrims where I don't do anything. I want to play AP Galio. Let me play it. Finally ends up playing it. Doesn't have any intention now of dying at all with that Medjay's.
Well, no one ever has intentions of dying, to
but it sends a very clear message that it's just like, I'm going to play frontline, but I'm so far ahead that at this point you can't do anything to me. Like, all of his items have that hybrid damage plus tankiness to it. Abyssal Mask, of course, will give him that extra damage on enemies that are nearby.
Man, it's just working out in favor of Giants. Baron is started. SmittyJ needs to teleport soon if he wants to join this one. The rockets from Kadril pull a little bit short. The target so far is Norskeren. The entrance comes down. Norskeren's already dead. Knock up onto the Memento. He locks Giants in the Cataclysm, but it will not be enough. Upset is locked down, and the back end, SmittyJ gets taken out. The Winds of War in favor of Giants. Kadril, the last man standing, and Giants say they want the game. It's a 10,000 gold lead. It's a 10 kill lead, and they're in a 5-on-1.
Yeah, they don't even want the Baron at this point. They know they have the inhibitor. They know they can walk the minions through. 25 seconds still on Upset, and Giants have looked so incredibly good at denying Schalke's composition almost anything they want. You don't want to be team fighting with Jax. SmittyJ wants to be in the side lane, but with this much engage, Giants have said you cannot escape our team fights, and now they're looking to push forward for the win.
Oh, the Nexus turret number 1 has fallen. Kadril and Memento doing what they can to defend, but there's just not enough damage. Now, all of a sudden, 4 members of Schalke are here. The damage comes down, but it's so far messy. Trades back and forth. Ruin running for his life. Jizuki sends out the Winds of War, unable to get the kill. Giants just short of winning the game. But the damage is done, and they trade a few more kills.
But at this point, the inhibitor hasn't spawned enough super minions to be a full threat here. Schalke might rush out to the Baron if they can at least clear some of the pathways there. It's a difficult thing because Gilius is still alive. They're not actually opting for it yet, but we might see one last-ditch attempt at the Baron out of Schalke as we come out of the replay. Giants were on the Baron. They started it off, and as Schalke came into the fight, you can see the Galio ultimate looked to line up to hit multiple people. All of the crowd control comes through. The flashes from Schalke to avoid the Galio ult are enough that Giants have already basically won this fight. This is the play. Schalke were trying to start this Baron. Gilius is right here, though. If he steals this, the game is already over.
Nature's Grass starts to fly across the Schalke members. Baron down to 1,800. The quickness used to buy some time. And God, Gilius taketh everything from Schalke. Baron is secured. Schalke are squandered. And the team is being squashed. Giants with a phenomenal Game 3.
That's going to be it. No TPs to get into the base quickly, but there's also no Nexus towers surviving for Schalke. They're just going to be able to run right down the middle lane, walk into the base, and take this to a 2-1 series.
Look at the player cams. Giants, their support staff, their management, their coaches, they are ecstatic. And Giants crush Schalke to take the lead 2-1.
What a different game to the first two. Giants say, okay, we played the slow game, we played the more carries game. Now let's just play the fighting game. I'm going to bring as many crowd control effects to the fight as possible. And that is so difficult to play against. Like, how do you beat that much crowd control with a late game scaling comp?
Yep.
I don't think you can.
Nope. Then when there's that much engage, when there's that much threat being thrown at you, it doesn't matter how good you are at dodging engages. There's too many tools.
And I think that's where the draft is an unorthodox one out of Giants. You can see just how many of their support staff involved behind the scenes at this point, and you wonder how much of that drafted into this game. Because look, Giants, we thought it was going to be Maokai jungle, Galio mid lane, which looked to be fine, but then the Gragas comes around after the Jax, because Jax was going to be a scaling matchup anyway. Maokai provides crowd control. Up in the top lane, they put the Gragas in the jungle, and then how do you escape?
The two previous games have been so slow for the first 15 to 20 minutes, and Giants went, screw that noise. We're just going to tower dive and fight at every opportunity. And the end of the game in 26 minutes, 43 seconds. Phenomenal, decisive play. Even the throw at the Nexus didn't really count because they still got kills.
Yeah, I mean, Schalke had that one opportunity to rush the Baron down, but even then, Gilius was still alive, gets over the pit in enough time, disrupts around, smites it for himself, and says, okay, we win the game now.
So, Schalke now have their backs against the wall. They've lost. They're one game away from being knocked into that final match tomorrow. But Schalke's series last week went all the way to 5. They didn't falter there. They dug deep. They won that deciding game, which was very close. They are the ones that are under pressure. You saw those team shots. Really, really stern, focused, serious looks on the faces of Schalke, Stress.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Schalke go, okay, I've had enough of this. No more scaling top lane matchups. No more scaling mid lanes. Let's go. Get one component for the late game, but draft towards more winning lanes early on and see if they can crush Giants before Giants get going.
Well, I hope that's the case because it was very exciting in this game. Giants did dominate game 3. They took the lead in the series. Let's head to the analyst desk to break down how they did it.
Stresswall, I think it is very likely that they might panic and go away from the strategy that they're utilizing. Me and Official have been talking about it for the entire series. We do not think it was ultimately the strategy that Schalke were bringing them to the table that lost them the game, but ultimately the execution that we saw in-game.
Yeah, result-based analysis here would say this Giants comp is unbeatable. It is impossible to beat this comp. 26 minutes, they ran over them. Pick this every game, you will win. However, what actually happened in this game after we saw this draft here with all the tanks was that it was on Giants to be very proactive with the Galio. Game 1 didn't succeed for them. Game 2 didn't succeed for Schalke. Game 3, on the other hand, was the first game where the Galio really took off. And the main reason he did that, and his tank composition never got to a point where he was lacking damage or anything, was actually based on Schalke forcing fights and disrespecting this Galio pick so much from Giants. And if you start falling behind against a comp like this, like full tanks who have very, very high base damage, you're not getting back in because you can't survive. They can just tower dive you.
Yeah,
they can just force
we have to remember, this is the thing that people forget about tanks, is it's team no damage at 35 minutes when 80 carries have 2 or 3 items.
If you get there.
Maokai is mostly, you think of him like a mage, essentially, in the early game in terms of ability and damage output. Like, he doesn't do 0 damage immediately. He might do less damage than a Jax, but he also has double or triple the health of a Jax at any point in the game.
So before we get into the replays, let's just quickly summarize. The game plan for Schalke here is go to late game. Get to late game where you have double 80 carry and a Jax. The Jax will be really hard to kill in team fights with all these tanks because they won't deal enough damage against him specifically. He will have lifesteal as well. So you actually want to play a fairly slow early game as Schalke. You're not looking to just force plays all the time. That's what the tanks are supposed to do. Yet, when we pull up the first replay, Dracos, is it Smitty J who's deep inside the
I got this one. Let's pull up the replay. Let's take a look at the first couple set of plays here, because I'm going to go with, Schalke Smitty J. This is the guy who wants to scale, right?
Yeah. He wants to just run away now, but instead, Schalke are calling, hey, wait, we can kill this Maokai. Oh, what is this big red circle of doom around us? Oh, that's a Galio ulti from the mid lane. And then Gilia shows up as well. That's a quick 2 kills right now for Giants, and then it's a great roam from the Alistar to secure a 3rd kill. This was initiated by Schalke. They just set up the perfect fight for these big tanks on the side of Giants.
And for just Galio to
And
abuse
for
that
Galio
ultimate.
especially.
I mean,
Oh, what's happening here? So Schalke again are forcing something. TP comes in from Galio, late
But
teleport from Cadro.
at the same time, Deficio, like, you look at Ruin's health bar on the back of every one of these plays, and you have to understand why Schalke goes for it. They're so close every time. That was a fantastic outplay, the twisted advance into the passive to heal up.
Yes, so it makes sense why Schalke is saying, let's go kill this Maokai. He has no flash, we can just ult him. Cadro's TP there is slow. That's not based on the comp, that's based on execution. Jizuke's reactions on Galio and his coordination with his top laner, that is beautiful.
Yes, we see you, Gilius. We see you,
It is
Gilius. We're praising
So-
your teammate right now if you hold on. So Jizuki, we have to say Jizuki and Ruin coordinated fantastically.
Yes,
and
yes.
once the team actually got together and got out of the laning phase, that coordination kept up, which is, I think, the thing that surprised me most is because when we saw Galio in the previous games, yeah, it was the first 2 ults were great. And then after that, it all fell apart, and they couldn't just continue and rinse and repeat.
Right, but 2 of the games we've seen with Galio, game 1 and 2, were with a split-pushing top laner. This was with a team-fighting top laner who got ahead as well because of all these plays, who wanted to just go as 5 and just run straight at the enemy. So it was like a dive composition where Galio was super successful because he got so many kills. He had like his build was fantastic as well. He rushed magic penetration with the Haunting guys into Liandry's. Then he had Abyssal Mask buffing up all the tanks' damage. Then he had a Soul Stealer coming in, sort of like 15
20
stacks. At the
stacks.
end.
I was specifically told by our production team that he had 20 stacks at the end.
Basically, like, Giants' comp right here wants to fight early game. Schalke gave them the fight in the early game, and then Giants out-executed Schalke. 100% full credit to Giants there. But I really do not hope Schalke panics completely and just goes like, this comp was terrible, we can't do anything with this, because it was actually based on the play in-game.
That's true, and with this rough execution you talk about, we want to look at Giants out-executing. We do have that fight that they won around Baron. I would say the game-deciding fight, although from there Schalke did take a few more gambles, and really just, once again, a testament to the coordination of this team and knowing how to utilize the lead they've built.
Exactly, and here you can see the tanks are just not taking any damage. They even have more DPS than the different carries on the side of Schalke because, well, they are still waiting for items. They are still waiting for more time, and these tanks with the high base damage, who spikes on like 1 or 2 items, are just running over them.
And the thing, too, you have to remember, right, is that, yes, Corki probably does more damage than a Maokai, but he doesn't do more damage in 2 seconds than a Maokai, a Galio, and every single one of these options, and a Gragas, right? Those guys use 1 rotation and kill 1 carry immediately.
Right.
And the next carry can't kill 3 people in the time it takes for them to get their cooldowns back. There is no way to win a fight when your carries cannot independently survive from a full burst rotation from a tank.
Also from watching these games now, when we see like these clips with Ruin and Jizuke kind of coordinating together, I keep looking at the player camps, all the Giants players during the games like high-fiving each other and seem to really have a lot of fun in-game. Like, I look at this kind of team and there's some names here that are very new for a lot of viewers, like even for us. Like, we don't see some of these players quite a lot. If they make it into the LCS, like, this is the kind of lineup I just want to see stick together. Because the way they're playing with each other and the way they're reacting with each other as well, and the coaching staff that we're seeing on the picture, like when we show the teams, that's the kind of team you want, where it is more than just one guy doing something individually. It is actually the entire group of players clearly working well together.
Well, they're still going to have to find one more win before they go any further. This is what Giants have been fighting for all split, and now they're 1 win away from achieving their goal. Find out if Schalke can strike back and meet us back here for Game 4 after the